12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Written by Jordan Peterson. Introduction. In a world rife with uncertainty and chaos, the most radical act you can engage in is to take responsibility for your own life. 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos is not merely a collection of guidelines. It's a profound exploration into the very fabric of existence and the essence of what it means to live meaningfully. Imagine standing at a crossroads, where each path represents the choices you make daily. This book serves as your compass, providing clear direction and illuminating the principles that will lead you toward a more fulfilling and purposeful life. With each rule you embrace, you'll build a framework that helps you navigate life's complexities with resilience and strength. Why are these rules so important? The choices you make shape your reality and influence every interaction you have. When you establish a solid foundation based on personal responsibility and integrity, you gain the power to transform chaos into order. This book offers a structured approach to help you cultivate habits that promote personal growth and enhance your ability to confront the challenges of life. Each chapter of 12 Rules for Life delves into essential aspects of human experience, from the significance of discipline and the value of truth to understanding the interplay between suffering and meaning. This comprehensive exploration ensures that you are equipped to face life's difficulties with courage and insight. Drawing on a rich tapestry of philosophy, psychology, and personal anecdotes, this book provides the insights and practical wisdom needed to confront the chaos of existence head-on. You will learn how to embrace responsibility, develop a deeper understanding of yourself, and connect with others in a meaningful way. 12 Rules for Life is more than just a self-help book. It is a manifesto for reclaiming your agency and forging a path toward a life of purpose and fulfillment. Prepare to embark on a transformative journey that encourages you to question, reflect, and ultimately evolve into the person you aspire to be. So, as you step into this exploration of rules that can change your life, consider what it means to take responsibility for your choices. It's a journey marked by self-discovery, resilience, and a deeper understanding of the human experience. But where do you begin? Envision this. You wake up each day with clarity, purpose, and a commitment to living with intention. You are ready to confront chaos and carve out a space for order and meaning in your life. Together, let's embark on this journey and discover the profound wisdom contained within these 12 rules. Welcome to 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. In Chapter 1, Peterson begins with a powerful yet simple directive. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. This rule isn't just about physical posture, but also about how we carry ourselves in life. Peterson draws parallels between human behavior and the animal kingdom, particularly the behavior of lobsters. Lobsters, like humans, live in a structured social hierarchy. When a lobster loses a fight, it slouches, making it more vulnerable to future defeat. But when it wins, it stands tall, asserting dominance. Peterson explains that our posture reflects how we feel about ourselves and influences how others perceive us. Slouching indicates submission, a lack of confidence, and signals that you expect defeat. Conversely, standing up straight, literally and metaphorically, communicates strength, confidence, and a readiness to face life's challenges. He delves into the effects of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in how humans and animals behave in social hierarchies. People with high serotonin levels are more likely to stand tall and confront challenges, while those with lower levels tend to withdraw and adopt a defensive posture. This means that how you hold your body can significantly impact your mindset and the trajectory of your life. Peterson emphasizes that standing tall is not just about improving how others see you, but also about improving how you see yourself. When you adopt a posture of strength and confidence, your brain responds positively, creating a feedback loop that helps build resilience, assertiveness, and courage. In turn, this impacts your relationships, career, and overall well-being. So, what can we take away from this first rule? To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept responsibility for your life. It's about facing the challenges head-on, embracing the risk of failure, and maintaining your composure in the face of adversity. By adopting this mindset, you can begin to transform your life, one posture at a time. This chapter reminds us that small actions, like standing tall, can have a profound impact on our lives. It's about aligning your body and mind with your goals and refusing to shrink from the pressures of the world. In life, we all face battles, some small, some great. The key is to stand up, face them, and carry yourself like someone who deserves respect, both from yourself and from others. With this, you have the first tool to live a more courageous and determined life. Stand tall, be bold, and step forward with purpose. Chapter 2 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, where we dive into the principle, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. In this chapter, Peterson explores a curious and powerful paradox. Many of us take better care of others than we do of ourselves. He points out that people are often more willing to ensure that their pets or loved ones receive proper medication and care than to do the same for themselves. Peterson asks, why do we struggle to treat ourselves with the same compassion, care, and attention that we offer others? At the heart of this issue is the human tendency to devalue ourselves. We often believe that we are unworthy of care, love, or success. This self-neglect stems from a deep-rooted sense of inadequacy, guilt, or fear of failure. Yet, Peterson argues that you are just as deserving of help, support, and care as anyone else. To treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping requires a shift in mindset. It means acknowledging that you are valuable, not because you are perfect, but because you are a human being with intrinsic worth. You must approach your own well-being with the same seriousness and dedication as you would for a close friend or family member. Peterson encourages readers to embrace their potential and take responsibility for their own care. This means making decisions that nurture your body, mind, and spirit. It means setting boundaries, practicing self-discipline, and making choices that promote your long-term well-being rather than indulging in short-term gratification or destructive habits. A critical part of this process is learning to listen to yourself. Just as you would listen to the needs and concerns of someone you care for, you must listen to your own needs, physically, emotionally, and mentally. This involves paying attention to when you're feeling exhausted, stressed, or overwhelmed, and taking steps to address those feelings constructively. In this chapter, Peterson also emphasizes the importance of personal responsibility. Taking care of yourself isn't about selfishness. It's about recognizing that by improving your own health and well-being, you are better equipped to help others. When you are strong and healthy, physically, emotionally, and mentally, you become a better parent, partner, friend, and colleague. He suggests that you should imagine yourself as someone worth protecting and nurturing. What advice would you give to someone you deeply care about? How would you guide them through difficult times? Now, turn that compassion and wisdom inward and apply it to your own life. By treating yourself as someone you are responsible for helping, you give yourself permission to grow, heal, and succeed. You begin to recognize your potential and make choices that lead to a more fulfilling and balanced life. So, as you move forward with this rule in mind, ask yourself, what would happen if you treated yourself with the same kindness and consideration that you offer others? How much more could you achieve if you believed in your own worth and took action to support your growth? Remember, you are the one who has the power to improve your life. You are someone worthy of care, and you are responsible for helping yourself reach your fullest potential. Chapter 3 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. In this chapter, we explore a crucial principle. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Peterson begins by discussing the significant impact our social circles have on our lives. The people we surround ourselves with shape who we are, how we think, and what we achieve. Friends, family, and peers can either lift us up, encouraging growth and positivity, or drag us down, keeping us stuck in destructive patterns. This rule emphasizes the importance of choosing friends who genuinely want the best for you. These are the people who push you to grow, to succeed, and to become a better version of yourself. They aren't envious of your success or indifferent to your struggles. Instead, they celebrate your victories, support you in your failures, and provide honest feedback to help you improve. Peterson argues that many people hold on to relationships out of familiarity or a sense of obligation, even when those relationships are toxic or detrimental. He urges you to reflect on the friendships you maintain and to recognize when a relationship is holding you back. Just as a bad influence can pull you down, a true friend can help you rise. But how do you know if someone truly wants the best for you? Peterson suggests that the answer lies in how they react to your success and failure. Friends who are genuinely supportive will encourage you to pursue meaningful goals, even if it means making sacrifices or taking risks. They won't enable self-destructive behavior or pull you into negativity. Instead, they will inspire and challenge you to aim higher. Importantly, Peterson also emphasizes that this rule is not just about finding good friends. It's about being a good friend yourself. To attract positive relationships, you must first be someone who wants the best for others. This means encouraging your friends to grow, holding them accountable when necessary, and offering support without resentment or jealousy. Peterson delves into the psychological reasons why people often maintain unhealthy relationships. Sometimes it's because we feel guilty about outgrowing old friends or we fear loneliness. But he insists that letting go of toxic relationships is a necessary part of personal growth. Surrounding yourself with people who reflect your values and aspirations is key to becoming the best version of yourself. In addition, Peterson warns against the trap of aligning yourself with people who are unwilling to change or improve. While it's natural to want to help those who are struggling, constantly surrounding yourself with individuals who resist growth can drain your energy and prevent you from achieving your own goals. It's crucial to find a balance. Help others when you can, but don't allow their negativity or lack of ambition to drag you down. This chapter challenges you to take a hard look at your social connections. Are your friends and peers encouraging you to be your best self? Or are they keeping you in a cycle of mediocrity and negativity? By choosing relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, support, and a desire for growth, you set yourself up for a life of greater fulfillment and success. In closing, Peterson reminds us that true friendship is built on the foundation of shared values and a mutual desire for growth. It's about lifting each other up, offering constructive criticism, and celebrating each other's successes. When you make friends with people who want the best for you, you create a powerful support system that can propel you toward your highest potential. Chapter 4 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, where we explore the profound concept. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. In this chapter, Peterson delves into one of the most pervasive traps of modern life: the tendency to measure our self-worth and progress by comparing ourselves to others. It's easy to look around at the success of friends, colleagues, or even strangers on social media and feel inadequate. But Peterson argues that this kind of comparison is both unproductive and psychologically damaging. The central idea here is that the only valid comparison you should make is with yourself, specifically the version of you from yesterday. Are you a little better today than you were the day before? Have you made small improvements in your habits, mindset, or actions. That's the real measure of progress. Focusing on others' achievements distracts you from your own journey and leaves you feeling envious or discouraged, often without context. Peterson reminds us that life is incredibly complex and everyone is on their own unique path. When you compare yourself to others, you're only seeing a small, curated snapshot of their lives, not the full picture. You don't see the struggles, sacrifices, or the challenges they've faced. And because of that, comparisons to others are rarely fair or useful. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Instead, Peterson encourages self-reflection. He suggests that you take a personal inventory. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What areas of your life need improvement? By focusing on continuous self-betterment, you empower yourself to grow without the emotional burden of envy or insecurity. The goal is not to be better than others, but to be better than you were yesterday. Peterson also emphasizes the importance of setting achievable goals that are tailored to your own life circumstances. These goals don't have to be grand or ambitious. Small, incremental progress is the key. Each day, strive to be just a little better in some area of your life, whether it's your career, relationships, health, or personal development. Over time, these small improvements compound, leading to significant growth. He also discusses the psychological harm that results from constant comparison. When you're always looking at what others have or what they've achieved, you risk falling into a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. This can lead to feelings of resentment, inadequacy, and even depression. But when you focus on your own progress, no matter how small, you build self-confidence and a sense of purpose. You start to recognize your own capabilities and potential. Peterson acknowledges that this mindset shift isn't easy. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with images of success and perfection, it's tempting to measure ourselves against others. But he reminds us that the path to fulfillment lies in self-improvement, not competition. Life is not a race. It's a journey of growth and learning, unique to each individual. He also encourages you to take pride in your small victories. If you manage to improve your focus, health, or relationships, even by a little, that's worth celebrating. Progress, no matter how slow, is still progress. When you compare yourself only to your past self, you begin to appreciate how far you've come, rather than feeling discouraged by how far you have to go. As Peterson concludes the chapter, he leaves us with a powerful message. You are your own best benchmark. By focusing on your personal growth and comparing yourself only to your previous self, you take control of your life's trajectory. You free yourself from the burden of unrealistic comparisons and instead embrace a path of steady, meaningful improvement. So, the next time you feel the urge to compare yourself to someone else's success or progress, stop. Instead, ask yourself, am I better today than I was yesterday? That's the only comparison that truly matters. Chapter 5 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. This chapter explores the concept. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. In this rule, Peterson dives into the challenging and often delicate responsibility of parenting. He begins by pointing out a hard truth. Parents don't always like their children, and that's often because the child's behavior has not been properly corrected. The message here is clear. As parents, it is your duty to help your child develop into a well-adjusted, socially capable person. If you don't, not only will others dislike your child, but you may grow to dislike them too. Peterson stresses that children need guidance and discipline to navigate the world effectively. Without it, they can develop behaviors that alienate others and prevent them from fitting in socially. This chapter warns that ignoring poor behavior in children can lead to long-term consequences, not just for the child's social success, but also for the relationship between the parent and child. The key message in this chapter is the importance of setting boundaries for children. Peterson argues that when parents fail to discipline their children, they are not doing them any favors. On the contrary, they're setting them up for failure. Children who are not taught how to behave will grow up to become adults who struggle in social situations, at work, and in relationships. One of the central themes in this chapter is that children are not born knowing how to behave. They learn through trial and error, and it is the parent's job to guide them through this learning process. Peterson makes it clear that discipline is not about punishment, but about teaching children how to act in ways that are acceptable to both their parents and society. By doing so, parents ensure that their children will be liked and accepted by others, which is crucial for their long-term happiness and success. Peterson emphasizes that discipline should be fair, consistent, and compassionate. Children need to understand the consequences of their actions, but they also need to feel loved and supported. Discipline should never be about harsh punishment or instilling fear. Instead, it should be about teaching children to regulate their emotions, respect others, and behave in ways that allow them to thrive in society. The chapter also highlights the importance of parents being role models for their children. Children learn by observing the actions of the adults around them, so it's crucial that parents demonstrate the kind of behavior they want their children to emulate. If parents are inconsistent, hypocritical, or overly permissive, children will struggle to develop a clear understanding of right and wrong. Peterson acknowledges that disciplining children is not easy. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to endure short-term discomfort for long-term benefit. But he insists that the alternative, allowing your child to behave in ways that make you and others dislike them, is far worse. Without proper guidance, children will grow into adults who are ill-equipped to handle the challenges of life, and their relationships with their parents will suffer as a result. He also warns that modern parenting trends often prioritize the child's immediate happiness over long-term well-being. Many parents are afraid to say no to their children or to enforce rules, fearing that it will cause conflict or upset. But Peterson argues that avoiding discipline is a disservice to the child. True love for your child means being willing to engage in the difficult process of setting limits and correcting behavior, even when it's uncomfortable. As Peterson concludes the chapter, he offers practical advice for parents. He suggests that parents should aim to socialize their children by the age of 4, teaching them to follow rules, share with others, and respect authority. This early intervention sets the stage for future success, both socially and academically. He also encourages parents to reflect on their own behavior and ask themselves, are my actions helping my child grow into a person I would like? If not, changes need to be made. The overarching message of this chapter is that parenting is a profound responsibility, and it's one that requires both love and discipline. By setting clear boundaries, teaching appropriate behavior, and modeling good conduct, parents can help their children grow into happy, successful, and well-liked individuals. And in the process, they will preserve the bond of love and respect that is so vital to a healthy parent-child relationship. Chapter 6 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The rule we'll explore in this chapter is, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. This chapter opens with a stark reflection on human suffering and the tragedies that shape our lives. Peterson acknowledges that life is filled with pain, chaos, and injustice. He references mass shootings, terrorist attacks, and other atrocities committed by individuals who, overwhelmed by life's hardships, choose to blame the world and lash out at it in destructive ways. These events often provoke the question, why would someone choose to harm innocent people or act with such vengeance? Peterson argues that before we pass judgment on the world and point fingers at others, we need to reflect on our own lives. We need to ask ourselves, have we done everything we can to set our own affairs in order? Have we addressed the chaos in our own lives before blaming society for its ills? The chapter emphasizes personal responsibility and self-reflection as a prerequisite to any criticism of the world. One of the central themes in this chapter is the importance of order in our personal lives. Peterson suggests that when individuals are overwhelmed by the disorder in their own lives, they often become bitter and resentful. They look for external targets to blame, the government, society, or other people. But this outward blame is often a way of avoiding responsibility for the disorder within. Peterson urges readers to take stock of their own lives before they criticize the world. He uses the metaphor of setting your house in order to represent the process of taking personal responsibility. This doesn't mean that you have to solve all your problems immediately, but it does mean you should take concrete steps toward improvement. Start by cleaning your room, organizing your finances, repairing relationships, and establishing discipline in your daily habits. When you bring order to your own life, you gain the clarity and strength needed to address the broader problems of the world. The chapter emphasizes that setting your house in order is not just a practical task, it's a deeply moral one. Peterson suggests that many people become cynical and hostile toward life because they have failed to confront their own shortcomings. Instead of taking responsibility for their own lives, they externalize their anger, blaming others for their misery. This can lead to dangerous consequences, as individuals who feel powerless in their own lives often resort to destructive actions, either against themselves or against others. Peterson also acknowledges that the world is far from perfect and that there is genuine suffering and injustice that must be addressed. However, he argues that we are more effective in combating societal problems when we first tackle our own. He stresses the importance of humility in this process. Before we take on the role of judge or critic, we must first prove that we can manage the complexities of our own existence. This chapter also deals with the psychological and emotional toll of living in disorder. When our lives are chaotic, it's easy to become overwhelmed, anxious, and depressed. But rather than viewing these emotions as insurmountable obstacles, Peterson encourages us to see them as signals. They are indicators that something in our lives needs to change. Instead of blaming external factors for our distress, we should use these feelings as motivation to take responsibility and make meaningful changes in our own lives. As Peterson continues, he offers practical advice on how to begin setting your house in order. He suggests starting small. Identify one thing in your life that you can fix today, whether it's as simple as cleaning your room, organizing your workspace, or reaching out to a loved one. These small steps may seem insignificant, but they're the foundation for larger changes. By gradually taking control of your immediate surroundings, you will build the momentum and confidence needed to tackle bigger challenges. Peterson also stresses the importance of honesty with oneself during this process. It's easy to deceive ourselves into believing that our problems are entirely external, but true progress begins when we take a hard look at our own behavior, habits, and choices. We must be willing to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves in order to grow and improve. In concluding this chapter, Peterson reflects on the power of personal transformation. When we take responsibility for our own lives, we not only improve our own well-being, but we also become a positive influence on the world around us. By setting our own house in order, we create a ripple effect that extends to our families, communities, and society at large. This is the true path to making the world a better place. In essence, this chapter is about embracing personal responsibility and confronting the disorder in your own life before you criticize the larger world. The path to a better society begins with each individual taking responsibility for their own actions, choices, and circumstances. Only then can we approach the world with the wisdom, strength, and clarity needed to effect real change. Chapter 7 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The rule we're exploring today is Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. In this chapter, Peterson delves deep into the concept of meaning versus expedience, offering insight into how we should approach life in a way that brings long-term fulfillment rather than short-term satisfaction. The central idea here is that living a meaningful life is far more important than chasing momentary pleasures or convenience. Peterson defines expedience as doing what is easy, what brings immediate rewards, and what avoids pain or difficulty. In contrast, meaning involves taking responsibility, making sacrifices, and doing what is right, even when it's hard. Meaning requires a broader vision, one that considers the future and the consequences of our actions. Peterson draws on historical, religious, and philosophical references to explain this distinction. He begins by discussing how many ancient stories, including biblical ones, emphasize the importance of sacrifice. He references the story of Cain and Abel from the Bible. Cain, driven by resentment and bitterness, offers a sacrifice that is not genuine, and when it is rejected, he grows angry and kills his brother. Abel, on the other hand, makes an honest and meaningful sacrifice, which is rewarded. This story, Peterson explains, reflects a fundamental truth about life. Genuine, meaningful effort is necessary for long-term success and fulfillment, while shortcuts often lead to misery and destruction. The concept of sacrifice is crucial in this chapter. Peterson suggests that life is full of suffering and challenges, and the only way to navigate them is by making sacrifices today for the promise of a better tomorrow. This means delaying gratification, working hard, and making decisions based on what is right and meaningful, rather than what is easy and convenient. He also touches on the nature of suffering, which is an unavoidable part of life. Everyone faces difficulties, loss, and pain. According to Peterson, one of the key purposes of life is to confront suffering head-on and find meaning through responsibility. Instead of running from pain or trying to escape it through temporary pleasures, we should strive to carry our burdens and make the world a better place by pursuing goals that have true value. A major theme in this chapter is responsibility. Peterson argues that meaning comes from taking responsibility for yourself and for others. This means not only caring for your own well-being, but also contributing to your family, your community, and society as a whole. He explains that people often avoid responsibility because it's difficult, but it's precisely in accepting responsibility that we find meaning and purpose. When you choose to pursue what is meaningful, you take on challenges and face the discomfort that comes with growth. This, in turn, leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment and makes your life worth living. Peterson insists that without meaning, life becomes unbearable, and that it's meaning, not happiness, that should be the primary goal. He also makes an important point about truth. Meaningful pursuits are aligned with truth, while expedient actions often involve dishonesty, lying to oneself or others to avoid hardship or to get ahead temporarily. But in the long run, deceit leads to chaos and suffering. Peterson emphasizes the importance of being truthful, both in speech and action, as part of living a meaningful life. Speaking the truth might be difficult and uncomfortable in the short term, but it paves the way for long-term growth and integrity. Peterson uses examples from history and his clinical psychology practice to illustrate the consequences of choosing expedience over meaning. He describes how people who prioritize short-term gain or avoid responsibility often end up suffering more in the long run. Whether it's addiction, broken relationships, or dissatisfaction with life, choosing the easy way out leads to deeper problems down the road. On the other hand, those who endure hardship, make sacrifices, and commit to meaningful goals often find a sense of peace and purpose, even amidst life's difficulties. The chapter also explores the idea of moral responsibility. Peterson discusses the importance of aligning your actions with a higher purpose, whether that purpose is rooted in religion, personal values, or a commitment to the betterment of society. Pursuing what is meaningful involves recognizing that your actions matter, not just for you but for the broader world. In the latter part of the chapter, Peterson offers practical advice on how to live a meaningful life. He encourages readers to identify what they care about, set meaningful goals, and pursue them with discipline and integrity. He also suggests that we should continually strive to become better versions of ourselves, not in pursuit of perfection, but in pursuit of growth and contribution to something greater than ourselves. Peterson's message in this chapter is clear. Life is full of suffering, but we can transcend it by taking on responsibility and pursuing meaning. Expedience may offer temporary relief, but it ultimately leads to emptiness. True fulfillment comes from doing what is right, meaningful, and enduring. As he concludes, Peterson reminds us that every person has the ability to choose meaning over expedience. It's a daily choice that requires courage, sacrifice, and commitment. But the reward is a life filled with purpose, resilience, and a deeper connection to the world around us. In summary, Chapter 7 of 12 Rules for Life encourages us to seek meaning in life, even if it requires sacrifice, discipline, and effort. It reminds us that short-term pleasure and avoidance of responsibility will not bring lasting happiness. Instead, meaning comes from confronting life's challenges, taking responsibility, and making a positive impact on ourselves and others. By choosing what is meaningful over what is easy, we can create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Chapter 8 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The rule we'll be exploring today is, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. In this chapter, Jordan Peterson delves into the profound significance of truth and the destructive consequences of dishonesty. He begins by explaining that telling the truth is not simply about avoiding lies. It's about aligning your words and actions with reality. Truth, according to Peterson, is fundamental to the stability of our personal lives and the broader society. Peterson describes how lying, whether to ourselves or others, creates chaos. When we distort reality through lies, we lose our ability to navigate the world effectively. Lies undermine our relationships, erode trust, and create confusion, both within us and in the people around us. When we lie, we not only deceive others but also compromise our own integrity, leading to inner conflict and stress. One of the central ideas in this chapter is that truth is a pathway to meaning and stability. When we tell the truth, we act in harmony with the world as it is, rather than trying to mold it into what we wish it to be. Telling the truth, therefore, becomes an act of courage. It requires us to confront reality, no matter how uncomfortable or painful it might be. Peterson draws on examples from his clinical psychology practice to illustrate the power of truth in transforming lives. He explains how people often avoid the truth because it's easier to tell lies that preserve comfort in the short term. However, these lies accumulate and eventually create larger problems, leading to suffering that could have been avoided if truth had been confronted earlier. He also reflects on how lying often stems from fear, the fear of conflict, rejection, or failure. We tell ourselves stories that justify our actions, avoiding responsibility and refusing to face difficult truths. But as Peterson points out, lies never truly solve the problem. They only push it further down the road, where it grows larger and more damaging. Ultimately, facing the truth, no matter how hard it may be, is always a better long-term strategy. In the chapter, Peterson explores the idea of self-deception. When we lie to ourselves to protect our ego, or to avoid facing uncomfortable realities. He explains how self-deception can lead to mental health issues like anxiety and depression. By refusing to acknowledge the truth about our own flaws, mistakes, or vulnerabilities, we build a distorted sense of self that becomes fragile and prone to breakdown when reality intrudes. Peterson doesn't suggest that we must always speak the blunt truth in every situation. Instead, he offers a nuanced approach. If you can't tell the truth, at least don't lie. This means that in situations where the full truth might be too damaging or difficult to express, we should refrain from distorting reality further with lies. It's about maintaining honesty in our intentions and avoiding the temptation to manipulate others with falsehoods, even when it's convenient. He also connects this idea of truth to the importance of trust in relationships. When we lie, we not only harm ourselves but also erode the trust that forms the foundation of healthy relationships. Whether in personal, professional, or social interactions, trust is built on the expectation that people will act honestly and truthfully. When that trust is broken, relationships suffer, and the fabric of society begins to unravel. In addition to the psychological and social aspects, Peterson delves into the philosophical and existential dimensions of truth. He discusses how truth has been revered by religious traditions and philosophical schools of thought throughout history. Truth, in this context, is seen as the guiding principle that helps individuals and societies flourish. Without truth, we are left with chaos, suffering, and conflict. Peterson emphasizes that telling the truth is not always easy. In fact, it often requires a great deal of bravery, especially when the truth is unpopular or uncomfortable. But he argues that the alternative, living in falsehood, leads to far worse outcomes. Lies create a fragile foundation upon which nothing stable can be built. In contrast, truth creates strength, resilience, and clarity. The chapter also explores how truth is linked to responsibility. When we tell the truth, we take responsibility for our actions and for the world we live in. We acknowledge reality as it is, and we commit to improving ourselves and the world based on that reality. Lying, on the other hand, is often a way to avoid responsibility. It allows us to shift blame, avoid hard decisions, and escape accountability. But in doing so, we sacrifice our integrity and contribute to the chaos around us. Peterson encourages readers to begin by telling the truth to themselves. This involves an honest appraisal of one's life, values, and choices. It means looking at where we may have been dishonest with ourselves, where we've avoided facing uncomfortable truths, and where we've allowed self-deception to cloud our judgment. From there, we can start to extend that honesty to our relationships and the broader world. In the latter part of the chapter, Peterson acknowledges that the pursuit of truth is a lifelong journey. It's not something that we achieve once and for all, but something we must commit to continuously. Life is complex, and truth is often difficult to discern. But by making truth-telling a core principle of our lives, we create a foundation for personal growth, healthier relationships, and a more stable society. As he concludes the chapter, Peterson urges us to choose truth over comfort and to remember that every lie, no matter how small, undermines our integrity and contributes to the chaos of the world. By telling the truth, or at least refusing to lie, we can build lives that are grounded in reality, filled with meaning, and resilient in the face of challenges. Chapter 9 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The rule for today is, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. In this chapter, Jordan Peterson delves into the art of listening and how it can profoundly impact our understanding of the world and others. He emphasizes that true listening is not merely waiting for your turn to speak. It's about genuinely being open to what others are saying and more importantly, what they might be able to teach you. Peterson begins by highlighting a common human tendency, the need to assert our own ideas and perspectives, in conversations. Often, when someone is speaking, we're formulating our response rather than actively listening. We become so focused on expressing ourselves that we miss the opportunity to learn from others. This tendency, Peterson argues, limits our personal growth because it assumes that we already know everything we need to know. But what if we approach conversations with a different mindset? What if we assume that the person we are talking to has valuable knowledge or insights that we don't? According to Peterson, adopting this mindset can transform our interactions and open us up to new ideas, perspectives, and wisdom. Peterson references the work of famed psychologist Carl Rogers, who argued that true listening requires empathy and a willingness to suspend judgment. Listening deeply to someone else's experience or viewpoint means setting aside your own preconceptions and instead seeking to understand where the other person is coming from. This type of listening is rare but incredibly powerful. He explains how people often need to talk through their ideas or problems to better understand them themselves. In doing so, they gain clarity, and in turn, the listener can learn from their process of exploration. When you truly listen, you not only offer support, but you might also discover solutions or insights that you had not considered. One of the key themes of the chapter is that everyone knows something you don't, and if you dismiss what others have to say, you might miss out on valuable knowledge. Peterson emphasizes the importance of approaching conversations with humility, acknowledging that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. This openness allows us to deepen our understanding of the world and of ourselves. Peterson also explores the psychological dynamics of communication. He points out that most people do not fully express their thoughts until they are given the space and safety to do so. When someone feels truly listened to, they are more likely to open up, share deeper insights, and reveal the core of their beliefs and concerns. This is where real learning happens, not just for the speaker, but for the listener as well. He offers practical advice on how to become a better listener. One of the most important techniques is to reflect back what the other person has said to ensure you've understood their message correctly. By doing this, you demonstrate that you're genuinely engaged and that you value their perspective. This technique also helps clarify the conversation and prevents misunderstandings. Peterson also warns against intellectual arrogance, the belief that we already have all the answers. Intellectual humility is key to personal growth. When we assume that we know everything, we close ourselves off from new ideas and perspectives, and we limit our ability to improve. True wisdom comes from recognizing that we have blind spots, gaps in our knowledge, and biases that others can help us see. The chapter also touches on the importance of communication in relationships. Peterson explains that many relationship problems arise because people are not truly listening to each other. Misunderstandings, resentment, and conflict often stem from a lack of clear and empathetic communication. By assuming that your partner or friend has something valuable to share, you create a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Peterson further connects this rule to the broader theme of truth-seeking. Listening carefully to others helps us refine our own understanding of the world. When we engage with different perspectives, we challenge our assumptions, broaden our horizons, and get closer to the truth. This is not just important for personal growth, but for the health of society as a whole. In a world filled with echo chambers and ideological divisions, the ability to listen to others with an open mind is more crucial than ever. Peterson also emphasizes that listening is not passive. It requires effort, attention, and the willingness to challenge your own beliefs. True listening involves asking questions, seeking clarification, and engaging deeply with the other person's ideas. It's about creating a dialogue where both parties can learn and grow. As the chapter progresses, Peterson reflects on the impact of conversations on mental health. He notes that people often feel isolated or misunderstood because they are not being truly heard. By practicing active listening, we can help others feel seen and valued, which can have a profound positive effect on their well-being. Toward the end of the chapter, Peterson encourages readers to embrace curiosity. Life is a complex and ever-changing landscape, and no single person can understand it fully. By listening to others, we gain access to different viewpoints and experiences, which enrich our understanding of the world. Every person you meet knows something you don't, and by being open to their insights, you expand your own knowledge and wisdom. He also reminds us that listening is an act of generosity. When you listen to someone, you're giving them your time, attention, and respect. This creates a positive exchange where both the speaker and listener can benefit. It fosters deeper connections and helps build stronger relationships. In conclusion, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't is a rule that emphasizes the importance of humility, curiosity, and empathy in our interactions with others. By truly listening, we open ourselves up to new ideas, strengthen our relationships, and contribute to a more understanding and compassionate world. Chapter 10 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The rule for this chapter is, be precise in your speech. In this chapter, Peterson explores the importance of clarity and precision in our communication, not only with others, but also with ourselves. He explains that language shapes reality, and when we fail to be precise in our speech, we risk allowing chaos and confusion to seep into our lives. Peterson begins by explaining that vague language leads to vague thinking, and vague thinking can cause us to misinterpret the world and our place in it. When we fail to clearly articulate what we want, what we believe, or what we observe, we lose control over our lives. Ambiguity invites disorder, misunderstandings, and unresolved problems. To illustrate this point, Peterson discusses how problems in our lives grow when left unaddressed. If we avoid talking about a problem, whether it's a personal issue, a relationship conflict, or a challenge at work, then that problem festers. It grows in the shadows, gathering strength because we haven't given it clear definition or focus. In contrast, naming a problem, describing it clearly and precisely shrinks it. By articulating the issue, we bring it into the light, where it can be managed and resolved. Peterson compares this to the ancient idea of bringing order out of chaos. In many mythologies, the hero brings light to the darkness by naming the unknown. By putting words to the unseen or undefined, the hero creates structure and meaning. Peterson argues that we can all play this role in our own lives by using language to define the chaos around us and within us. He also discusses the consequences of unclear speech in relationships. Many conflicts between friends, partners, or colleagues arise because people are not clear about what they mean, what they feel, or what they need. Vague or indirect communication leaves too much room for misunderstanding. By being precise in our speech, we can prevent small misunderstandings from growing into major conflicts. Peterson gives the example of a couple who argue frequently but never really address the underlying issues in their relationship. One partner might say, "You never listen to me," but this statement is too broad and vague to be useful. What does it mean to not listen? What specific instances led to this feeling? Without precision, the problem cannot be properly addressed, and the conflict will likely continue. But if the partner were to say, "When you looked at your phone while I was talking about my day, it made me feel ignored," the issue becomes clear, specific, and solvable. Peterson extends this principle to internal dialogue, how we speak to ourselves. Often, we avoid being precise about our own feelings, fears, and desires because facing the truth can be uncomfortable or painful. However, by naming our emotions and confronting our inner conflicts directly, we can begin to resolve them. Avoiding the truth only leads to confusion and deeper emotional turmoil. For example, instead of saying, "I'm unhappy," which is vague, we should try to identify exactly why we feel that way. "I'm unhappy because I feel unfulfilled at work," or "I'm unhappy because I'm not taking care of my health." He emphasizes that being precise doesn't just mean being clear about what's wrong. It also means being clear about what's right, what we want, and what we value. If we can't clearly articulate our goals, how can we hope to achieve them? If we don't know what we believe in, how can we stand up for it? Peterson argues that precision in speech is the foundation of productive action. When we speak precisely, we know what we're dealing with, and only then can we take effective steps to solve problems and make progress. Without precise language, our actions are directionless. He also discusses how precision in speech relates to truth. When we are imprecise or unclear in our speech, we risk distorting the truth, either intentionally or unintentionally. Speaking truthfully requires us to be as precise as possible, to describe things as they are, not as we wish them to be or as we fear they might be. This connects to Peterson's broader theme of facing reality, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may be. The chapter also touches on the importance of narrative in human life. Peterson explains that human beings are storytelling creatures, and the stories we tell ourselves shape our understanding of the world. When we are imprecise in our speech, we create confused or incomplete stories, and these stories in turn affect how we live our lives. By being precise, we create clearer, more truthful narratives that can guide us more effectively. As the chapter progresses, Peterson addresses the danger of ignoring small problems. He uses the metaphor of a house. If you ignore a small leak in your roof, over time, it can grow into a much larger problem, eventually causing major damage. In the same way, if we ignore or avoid addressing small issues in our lives, whether they are emotional, relational, or practical, they can grow into much larger, more difficult problems. In conclusion, be precise in your speech is not just about choosing the right words. It's about confronting the reality of our lives with clarity and honesty. Precision in speech helps us bring order to chaos, solve problems, and build stronger relationships with others and with ourselves. When we are precise, we take responsibility for the world we live in and for our place in it. We create a foundation for meaningful action and lasting progress. So, as you navigate through life, remember this rule. Be precise in your speech, and you will bring clarity to your mind, your relationships, and your world. Chapter 11 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The rule for this chapter is, do not bother children when they are skateboarding. In this chapter, Peterson reflects on the importance of risk-taking and the role it plays in developing strength, competence, and resilience in individuals, especially children. The title may seem simple, but the underlying message is profound. Don't prevent others, particularly the young, from testing their limits and learning from the dangers of life. Peterson begins by recalling an observation. Children, especially boys, are naturally drawn to risky activities like skateboarding. They push themselves to perform daring tricks, even at the risk of falling and injuring themselves. While it may be tempting for adults to intervene and stop them from doing these dangerous things, Peterson argues that this is precisely what children need. Risk and challenge are necessary for growth. He emphasizes that overprotecting children does more harm than good. Shielding them from challenges, failure, and discomfort prevents them from developing the skills and confidence they need to navigate the real world. When we hover over children, constantly trying to keep them safe from every possible harm, we are essentially denying them the opportunity to learn how to overcome obstacles on their own. Life is filled with risks, and avoiding them altogether is impossible. Thus, it is better to learn how to manage risks rather than avoid them entirely. Peterson connects this to a broader cultural phenomenon that he believes is leading to the overprotection of society. In many ways, modern Western culture has become obsessed with safety to the point where people are discouraged from taking any risks at all. Schools, workplaces, and even public spaces are increasingly regulated to minimize danger. But Peterson argues that this has led to a weakening of individual resilience and a growing fear of failure. When people are overly protected from discomfort, they never learn how to cope with adversity. He introduces the concept of necessary conflict, the idea that facing and overcoming challenges is what allows individuals to grow and develop strength. Conflict, danger, and risk are essential parts of life, and when we take those away, we prevent people from reaching their full potential. This applies to both children and adults. If we never allow ourselves to step outside our comfort zones or face difficulties, we remain stagnant and unprepared for life's inevitable hardships. Peterson contrasts this with the principle of competence. When children, or anyone, take on risks, they develop competence. They become skilled at navigating danger and uncertainty. Whether it's through skateboarding, playing sports, or facing academic challenges, young people build confidence and capability by taking risks and learning from their failures. By preventing them from doing so, we deny them the chance to gain that competence, and this can have long-term consequences for their self-esteem and independence. The chapter also addresses the concept of hierarchies, particularly in relation to gender and society. Peterson explores how boys and girls are socialized differently, with boys often being encouraged to take risks and be adventurous, while girls may be encouraged to be more cautious and nurturing. He warns that flattening these natural differences can lead to confusion and frustration, both for individuals and for society as a whole. It's not that one way is better than the other, but that balance is key, allowing boys to embrace risk and girls to do the same if they choose. A significant part of this chapter focuses on the role of masculinity and how modern society has in some ways vilified it. Peterson argues that traditional masculine traits, such as assertiveness, competitiveness, and risk-taking, are essential for individual success and for the functioning of society. However, there has been a growing tendency to criticize and suppress these traits, especially in young boys. Peterson cautions that undermining masculinity can have serious negative consequences, leading to a generation of boys who are unsure of how to express themselves or assert their individuality. Peterson also delves into the relationship between safety and freedom. In an overly safe environment, people become less free, as they are constantly constrained by rules and regulations designed to protect them from every possible harm. While safety is important, it should not come at the expense of personal freedom and the ability to take risks. True freedom, Peterson argues, comes from the ability to face danger and uncertainty with courage and competence. Another key theme in this chapter is the idea that suffering and danger are inherent to life. No matter how much we try to protect ourselves or others from pain and suffering, these experiences are unavoidable. Rather than trying to eliminate risk and suffering, we should focus on developing the strength to face them when they arise. This is particularly important for children, as they need to learn how to handle setbacks and challenges if they are to become independent, resilient adults. Peterson also touches on the psychological benefits of taking risks. When people engage in risky activities and succeed, they experience a sense of accomplishment and empowerment. This boosts their confidence and encourages them to take on even greater challenges. Conversely, when people are prevented from taking risks, they may become fearful and anxious, unable to cope with even minor difficulties. In the conclusion of the chapter, Peterson emphasizes that growth comes from embracing risk, not avoiding it. He urges parents, teachers, and society at large to stop overprotecting children and allow them to face the natural dangers of life. By doing so, we give them the opportunity to develop the competence, confidence, and resilience they need to succeed. So, the next time you see a child skateboarding, remember, don't bother them. They're learning valuable life lessons about risk, failure, and success. Let them fall, get up, and try again, for that is how they will become strong, capable, and independent. Chapter 12 of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. The final rule in this book is, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. In this chapter, Peterson delivers a deeply personal reflection on suffering, gratitude, and the fleeting moments of beauty that make life bearable, even in the face of tragedy. The title of this rule, about petting a cat, might seem whimsical, but the underlying message is far more profound. It's a reminder to appreciate the small, simple joys in life, especially when faced with overwhelming hardship. Peterson begins by recounting his family's experience with his young daughter's severe illness. The suffering and uncertainty that came with her condition pushed him and his family to the brink, testing their emotional and psychological endurance. Life, he acknowledges, is full of suffering, and at times, it can feel unbearable. Whether it's through illness, loss, or other hardships, everyone will encounter moments where life feels overwhelming. But amidst the darkness, Peterson urges us to seek out and recognize the brief moments of peace, beauty, and comfort. This is symbolized by the act of petting a cat, a metaphor for appreciating the small, fleeting moments of joy that life offers us, even in the midst of suffering. When you encounter a cat in the street and stop to pet it, you're allowing yourself a brief moment of respite, a pause from the chaos of life. He reflects on how easy it is to become consumed by the hardships we face and to let those difficulties define our entire existence. But in doing so, we risk missing out on the small moments of grace and beauty that can help us endure. These moments don't fix everything or make the suffering disappear, but they offer a reminder that life is more than just pain. Even in the midst of great suffering, there are opportunities to experience connection, peace, and gratitude. The chapter also touches on the importance of accepting the realities of suffering rather than trying to escape from them. Peterson reminds us that pain and suffering are inevitable parts of life, and trying to avoid them at all costs can lead to more harm than good. Instead, it's about learning how to navigate through the suffering, finding those small moments of beauty and solace to help you keep going. He compares this to the notion of bearing your cross, an idea rooted in religious and philosophical traditions that emphasize the importance of accepting the burden of life's suffering. This doesn't mean passively enduring misery, but rather acknowledging it, facing it with courage, and finding ways to continue moving forward. Peterson also discusses how the moments of reprieve, like petting a cat or watching a sunset, remind us of the fragility and preciousness of life. Life's beauty is often found in its impermanence. The brief, transient nature of joy makes it all the more valuable. When we stop to pet a cat, or notice a flower, or listen to a piece of music, we are grounding ourselves in the present moment, allowing ourselves to be fully present with the good that exists, however fleeting it may be. He shares that his family's experiences with suffering, particularly his daughter's illness, taught him the importance of slowing down and appreciating life's small pleasures. He encourages the reader to do the same. Take a break, even for a moment, and let yourself enjoy the beauty that exists in the world around you. This chapter also brings the entire book full circle. Throughout the 12 Rules for Life, Peterson has emphasized personal responsibility, discipline, and facing challenges head-on. But with this final rule, he introduces a softer, more reflective element. It's a call to balance, to recognize that while striving for order and responsibility is crucial, it's equally important to acknowledge the chaos and suffering of life, and to find moments of peace within it. Peterson concludes by stressing that we shouldn't become so focused on the big, overwhelming problems of life that we forget to enjoy the little things. Petting a cat, or enjoying any small pleasure, is a reminder that even in the darkest times, life offers moments of grace and beauty. These moments don't solve all of life's problems, but they can provide the strength to continue facing them with courage and resilience.